You open your eyes and the sky is already bleaching white. The Kalahari Desert stretches in every direction, a sea of pale sand and withered grass. No canteen, no pipe, no memory of how you got here. But the rising sun is already burning through the cool air, and you know one thing with absolute certainty. You are going to dehydrate. By midday, the sand will be hot enough to blister your skin. The air will hit 40 degrees Celsius. You will sweat, and that sweat will pull water from your blood, and your blood will thicken. Your kidneys will start to shut down after about 24 hours without water. Your heart will struggle. At 3 days, you will likely be dead. That is your biological clock. It ticks with every dry breath. But here is the strange thing. Ancient humans lived in places like this for tens of thousands of years. They did not carry plastic bottles. They did not drill wells with machinery. They found water because they learned to read the land. Every track, every tree, every bird in the sky was a clue. Pattern recognition passed down over generations turned a deadly desert into a living map. You are not an ancient human, but you have the same eyes, the same hands, the same desperate need to survive. And the first thing you need to do is stop panicking. Panic makes you sweat more. Panic makes you move too fast and miss the signs. Disruption. So you stand still. You let your breathing slow. You look at the ground around your feet. The sand is disturbed. There are small prints heading east, hoof marks and droppings. You kneel and trace one with your finger. A springbok maybe, or a steenbok. Either way, these animals know where the water is, and right now you have to follow them. You follow the tracks for maybe half an hour. The sun climbs higher and the shade shrinks, but the prints are fresh and they are not alone. Other trails join in from the left and right. A whole network of animal paths converges at a single point ahead. Baboons. You see their hand-like paw prints pressed into a dry stream bed. Baboons sleep in trees or on cliffs, but they never roam more than a few kilometers from water. Where the trails merge, water is close. You walk faster now. The stream bed is wide and sandy, bone dry on the surface. But your eyes scan the banks for a specific silhouette. The shepherd's tree, Bossia albitrunca. It has a pale trunk and a dense crown of small green leaves. The sand people call it the water tree because its taproot can reach 10 meters down into the earth. Where you see a shepherd's tree in a dry riverbed, moisture is within reach. About 100 meters ahead, a squat tree with a trunk that looks almost white in the sun. You walk toward it. The ground under your feet changes from loose sand to a harder, more compact surface. The riverbed curves slightly, and you notice a patch of darker sand at the base of the tree. That dark color means the sand is slightly damp, not wet, not enough to drink, but evidence that water is below. You kneel and pick up a fallen branch. The end is already sharp from natural breakage. You use it to scrape away the surface layer, dry. Then another handspan down, still dry. But at about waist depth, the sand changes color. It clumps together. You touch it with your fingers and it feels cool, damp. You are standing above a shallow aquifer that flows beneath this ancient riverbed. Now you have to dig deeper. You need a proper well. The damp sand tells you water is near, but it is still a meter or more below your feet. You have no shovel, so you use your hands and that sharpened stick. The technique is simple. Scrape away the loose top layer and pile it behind you. Then brace the walls. You find flat stones along the stream bed and wedge them into the sides of your hole to prevent collapse. The Kalahari sand is fine and prone to caving in. One wrong move and you will be digging yourself out instead of digging to water. You work in short bursts. Your mouth is dry. Your muscles burn. The hole grows deeper. At chest depth, the sand turns from damp to wet. It sticks to your hands in heavy clumps. Now you need a scoop, an ostrich eggshell. You spotted one earlier, broken and hollow, lying near the tree. You reach up and grab it. It is about 15 centimeters across, with a small hole at one end. Perfect. The find and off. You drop back into the hole and use the eggshell to bail out the wet slurry. It is muddy brown. You pour it into a separate pile, not back into the well. The slurry is too thick to drink. You keep digging. The water seeps in slowly, mixing with the sand. After what feels like an hour, you are standing in a hole 2 meters deep. And then you see it. A glint of clear liquid at the bottom of the eggshell scoop. Not mud. Water. The find and off. You stop digging. You wait. The water seeps back into the hole at a steady rate. You scoop again. Half a liter per hour. Not a flood. Not a river. But enough. 1 cup of water every hour means you will survive today. You will not die of thirst in this dry riverbed. You sit back against the cool wall of your well, and watch the water slowly rise. Ancient humans did this 1,000 times, and now you have done it once. You drink your fill from the well, then you fill the hollow ostrich egg with half a liter of clear water and seal the small hole with a wad of wet clay. It's not much, but it buys you time. You climb out of the riverbed as the sun clears the horizon. The air is already hot, and then you notice the birds. A tight flock of sand grouse flashes overhead. They are stout, fast, with pointed wings and bellies that look damp in the early light. You have seen them before, at dawn. They fly straight, no zigzagging, no feeding. They fly southeast in a direct line. You know what that means: water. Sand grouse nest miles from any water hole, and every morning the adults fly to the nearest permanent source. They drink, they soak their belly feathers, and they carry water back to their chicks. Their flight path is a map, drawn in muscle and instinct. You do not hesitate. You leave the well behind. You start running. The ground is cracked mud baked into plates. Each step sends a shock up your legs. The temperature climbs fast. The air shimmers. You keep your eyes on the flock. They are small specks now, but you know the line they are flying. Southeast. You run until your lungs burn. The sand grouse drop lower, descending toward a low depression between dunes. You push harder. An hour later, your throat is raw. The ostrich egg has run dry. But you crest a dune and see it. A pan. A shallow basin of muddy water ringed by reeds. Dragonflies hover over the surface. The water is brown and still, but it is alive. You slide down the dune, knees deep in sand. You reach the edge and kneel. You do not drink directly. The sediment would choke you. Instead, you break off a hollow reed stem, long and straight. You push one end into the water, suck gently, and feel the cool liquid rise into your mouth. The reed filters out most of the grit. It is not clean, it is not cold, but it is wet. You drink until your stomach aches. Then you fill the ostrich egg again and look around. This pan was never on a map, but the sand grouse knew it was here, and now you do too. You empty the ostrich egg. Then you take the water you need for the next 2 days. But you cannot carry it in the eggshell alone. You need a better container. You look for something else. Near the pan, half buried in mud, you find the remains of a springbok carcass. The stomach sac is intact but dried and cracked. You cut it free with a sharp flake of stone. Back at the water's edge, you soak the stomach in the pan. It softens and becomes pliable. You tie off the openings with thin strips of sinew. One end you leave open, but you seal it with a wad of beeswax you find in a hollow tree nearby. The wax is soft. You press it into the opening. It holds. You fill the stomach sac with water. It holds about 2 liters. Heavy, but portable. You hang it from your shoulder by a strip of hide. Now you have 2 containers, the eggshell and the stomach. It is enough to reach the next permanent water hole, the one you learned about from the sand grouse flight path. Mind. You stand on the dune and look back at the desert. The pan is gone from view, but you can still read the land. The line of baboon tracks you followed earlier points north. The shepherd's tree sits near the dry riverbed to the west. The sand grouse flew southeast this morning. Termite mounds always point north-south because of the sun. The call of a hornbill tells you there is fruit nearby. None of this is written down. It never was. Monkly. Ancient humans spent 100,000 years in this desert. They did not conquer it. They learned it. Every sign, every movement, every temperature change was a clue. They built a map not on paper but in their heads. A map of memory. A map of survival. When you know how to read it, the desert is not empty. It is a library of water. Monkly. You sling the stomach sack over your shoulder and start walking southeast. You will reach the next waterhole by nightfall. You know because the sand grouse told you, and you are still here.